All right. Welcome back, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. So we have the new set.
Yeah, I love
a little
this.
bit different than it used to be.
Yeah.
Look, you got my ugly mug on the shot now.
It's about time we got you in the camera again. Being on your own show, we see you all the time, but we don't see you in my show.
It's all right.
We hear your voice, though.
Yeah, well, some days I'm just, I'm not wearing, I'm just in shorts and a backwards hat. You know what? I thought about it and I went, at the end of the day, nobody cares.
Right.
They care about what we're doing.
It's mostly on the radio anyway, right? So they're not going to see us.
I don't know. If people are not aware, they can find it at getdetoxinated.com. They can find everything at jonrobertquinn.org. They can watch all the episodes. This is episode 7, part 1. I want to get into, real quick, talk to me, what is detoxination?
Okay, so what we do is we get the toxins that are causing all the inflammatory diseases and neurological conditions, including cancers even, that are coming from fat-stored toxins. These are the ones that the body can't process. So the liver and the kidneys, when they reject these toxins, throw them into the fat cells, and you're basically suffering with those for many years. And our job is to get those out, and we do that with niacin, exercise, and sauna therapy.
Okay. A lot of people are unaware of what toxins are.
Right.
Explain to me what some of these toxins are.
Exactly. In fact, technically the term I like to use is xenobiotics, but toxins works for now. But we're dealing with the heavy metals, we're dealing with the synthetic chemicals, and we're dealing with persistent organic pollutants, which are typically your pesticides, herbicides, things like that, that don't break down. They're designed to not biodegrade in any hurry. So these are the types of toxins that I talk about usually. So when they get into the body through maybe your skin or through the air that you breathe, your food, water, all these different ways. In fact, your clothing, brand new clothing, your flooring, a lot of these things are going to off-gas. So once these chemicals get into your body, your liver and your kidneys are not designed to handle those.
Think about it like this. I mean, you got to think, okay, when our bodies were created, we didn't have automobiles, we didn't have freeways, we didn't have exhaust fumes. We're driving down the freeway, the window's down, it's a nice, beautiful day, but then that diesel truck goes by and he's blowing that stuff in. Or you go down to the dealership and you buy a new car, and it's got that new car smell, and of course that new car smell is now causing, you're breathing in glue and paints and
formaldehydes and all kinds of things.
It's
in industrial
terrible.
areas or where there's mining or construction or anything like that, they're all blowing out all kinds of toxic
Well, look at what's
material.
happening in downtown right now. You're going to tell me that just because the stuff blows that way, it's not blowing this way? I mean,
That's
come on.
right. Depends on the day, doesn't it?
So your why? What is your why? Why are we doing this?
This actually stems back to my wife, Susie. So
Okay.
she, in 2012, had a physician prescribe a very radical procedure for what was simply hyperthyroidism, actually, because that was something that we found out much later was easily cured by our own treatments. But her provider recommended radioactive iodine therapy, which essentially destroys the thyroid, and actually has now made her a slave to Big Pharma. Now she has to have her thyroid medication in order to even function, and she'll tell you that that's not even acceptable levels of functioning. But it was only after we realized the mistake and then did the research that we should have done beforehand, because we were actually suffering from what I call social allopathic conditioning, which means that we're basically all conditioned to believe that the healthcare industry is the only place to go for any kind of medical treatment. The thing is that that's what they focus on, is treatment. And we focus now on either cures that are natural or prevention. So,
well, when you think about how the medical system is built, when you get sick, you go to the hospital. You don't go there for preventative care. You go there when you get sick. And what do? They put a Band-Aid on it, and they send you home. They give you a pill. They send you home.
If you're lucky, yeah. Otherwise, hey, you'll go to the hospital and wind up staying for several days, and guess what? You're probably going to get some kind of infection from just staying
That
there.
actually has happened to me.
I'm sure. It happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a staph infection. That was not fun.
Yeah, you're not
fun.
the only one.
Tell me about the little history. I'm trying to figure out how to word this here. Tell me about the secret history of modern medicine.
Maybe we should talk about the fact that this is in my book. because
Okay.
my book hopefully is going to be coming out. I'm shooting for November.
Okay.
Hopefully before the end of the year.
Okay.
And the title of the book is Health Controls Wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because, frankly, the medical world does control your wealth, and it's by design. Now, in 2018, the average American family household of 4 is going to spend about $28,000. Now, mind you, that's the average. So some are paying a lot more than that. Many are paying less. But when you consider how much it costs for your insurance, your deductibles, your co-pays, and all the medications and things like that, $28,000 for a family of 4 is pretty much average. And a lot of the conditions that people are suffering from are things that could have been prevented. Nutrition is the number one reason for these poor nutrition. The junk we buy in the store is the largest reason. But, of course, the toxin buildup is the other reason. So when it comes to the medical industry and the history behind it, you have to know that Rockefeller and Carnegie are the reason why we really have so many pharmaceuticals in this world today.
A lot of people are not aware of this, and we're going to get into this here in segment 2. I want to really get into that. In fact, I'm going to write this down here.
Yeah, the entire industry is really wrapped around pharmaceuticals, big pharma. So we're seeing that most of the reasons people are in that social allopathic conditioning is because of how Carnegie and Rockefeller really got the medical industry wrapped around their finger.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize about Rockefeller and Carnegie is that those two fellers came around. Rockefeller came around before monopolies were monopolies.
Exactly. They were the creators.
They were the creators, and the reason for the regulations against monopolies. So not much has really changed. They can regulate it, but not much has really changed. It's already been done. What we can do now is we can see what's happening around us, and we can now be more aware of what we're doing and what we're how we're being affected by the toxins, how we're being affected by our air, our water, our food, everything.
Yeah, more and more people are waking up to this, and so there's a lot more research that's available on the internet. My book is basically a compilation of a lot of the research I've done over the last 3 years, especially after Susie and I realized our mistake. And so I have gone down so many rabbit holes and spent a lot of time understanding the problem, and then coming to the conclusion that if we had just done my father, Dr. David Root's detox program, and made better choices about not just our food, but the things that we put onto or into our bodies, we would have had a completely different outcome for my wife.
And that's why you're here.
That's why we're here.
All right, folks, bottom line is this. We all have toxins. We all have things going into our body that we don't necessarily want. We've got the pollutions. We've got the fluorides. We've got the heavy metals. We've got the junk food, the sodas, all this stuff that we put into our bodies, yet there's no way for it to really escape or leave our bodies. And that's where detoxination comes in. Give these guys a call, 916-366-0999, 916-366-0999, or visit getdetoxinated.com, getdetoxinated.com. We're going to go to a break. We're going to come back and learn more. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Get Detoxinated with Dan Root. My name is Jon Robert Quinn. I'm the guy who builds talk shows coast to coast. And this is episode 7, part 2. And we are talking about modern medicine and why people are getting so sick these days. And I guess we can give Rockefeller Carnegie the blame for this.
Well, pretty much we can give petrochemicals, which are Rockefeller's baby, pretty much the blame, because Rockefeller is known as the oil baron, right? So he wanted to find better ways to promote his product, and it was apparent that chemicals can be produced from the petroleum that he was bringing up from the ground. He invested heavily into IG Farben, the German company that a lot of people are quite aware of their history. They've got a very, very dark history. going back to the Holocaust. Anyway, so he invested heavily in IG Farben to help create the pharmaceutical industry as we know it today. And the chemicals that were produced are one of the things that our bodies have never been exposed to in the past. So our bodies are not designed to deal with these things, and so they wind up becoming sequestered in your fat cells. But the industry itself, it was because of a report that they funded, both Carnegie and Rockefeller, which is now known as the Flexner Report. And this was done in 1910, and its purpose was to influence the legislature in order to get control over how medical schools functioned, and who was actually going to control the information being taught, and then as well as who's going to get licensed as a physician and which hospitals were going to become licensed. So what transpired there was the AMA was formed, the American Medical Association, and they were put in charge of essentially what education was going to be given to practitioners. Now, mind you, the AMA has never and will never admit into their membership any non-physician types that we know as naturopath, homeopathic, or chiropractic, for example. There are others. But none of those other practitioners are going to be admitted into the AMA.
Very interesting.
And so in order for a doctor to even maintain good standing in the AMA, they really can't even cure. They have to treat. And they're taught in medical schools to treat using pharmaceuticals. So the other pieces of that, too, include burning, cutting, and, of course, prescribing either radiation or pharmaceuticals. So this is all about things that cause pain, things that cause bruising, things that cause bleeding, which kind of falls back onto the Hippocratic Oath. That's where we have been led to believe that the physicians are required to take a Hippocratic Oath. And I have to tell you that most people, when you ask them, what do you think of when you think of the Hippocratic Oath, the first thing is first do no harm. That's what we're all led to believe. First of all, that doesn't even exist in the Hippocratic Oath. Hippocrates may have said that in one of his other writings. I believe that was called Of the Epidemics. But it doesn't appear in the Hippocratic Oath.
It's very, very interesting, and some of this stuff is like well over my head. But I think every bit of this, when we started building these shows, every part of this was over my head from the get-go, and I'm slowly seeing it.
You've impressed me with how well you're able to now tell others what I do.
So why is chronic disease and cancer quadrupled since, 1996?
96 is when I can relate back to a specific item. However, just recently there was a report released in the UK that indicated that there's a 700% increase in infertility, and in both men and women.
Since the 60s.
Since the 60s. Now guess what came out in the 60s?
Plastic bottles.
Plastic bottles.
Very interesting.
Yes. So in the 70s was when the trend started really going downhill for infertility. So
do you think they're both connected, like exactly connected?
Well, we can say that the BPAs, the bisphenol A, and the phthalates that are in plastics, the BPA is just a toxic material used in plastic manufacturing, but the phthalates is what makes like a plastic bottle able to be squeezable in saran wraps and things like that, or plastic wraps. The phthalates are what makes that supple.
Got it.
So, basically the chemicals that they use in the manufacturing of these plastics, especially anything used in packaging, food packaging, is very toxic. And plastic bottles, when they get from or go from a, let's say the water treatment plant,
correct,
wherever, if they're even treating it. Don't get me started on that.
Okay.
I've seen tap water put into bottles and sold.
Look at what's going on in Michigan. Let's just leave that alone.
Yeah, exactly. So the bottles have been transported in large container truck, and in the heat of
well, I just read an
sun,
article the other day that said specifically, it's summertime. Your car is warm. Do not drink water from a warm plastic bottle. But I was thinking to myself, it's not being shipped in a refrigerated container.
Nope.
And it's not sitting in a refrigerated warehouse.
Nope. And so we're basically poisoning ourselves.
It doesn't make sense.
Yes, and actually we're causing infertility by drinking out of these plastic bottles. So my first recommendation to people is stop drinking out of plastic bottles. But now let's go back to why 1996. The other thing that happened was that what was unleashed upon us was the GMO products, the glyphosate. Now, we've touched upon this in other episodes, but for those who missed those other episodes, we have to point out the fact that if you look at the correlation curve with the relationship between GMO products and the amount of glyphosate, which is the main ingredient, the active ingredient in Roundup, you can see that pretty much every inflammatory disease, every neurological disease, and a lot of cancers are all on the same curve as where GMO crops became more 100%. So let's use corn and soy as two examples. As those became more 100%, GMO product, the amount of diseases rose. The number of reported diseases rose with that.
Okay, so how do we regain control?
Well, one of the best things we can do is start eating properly and buying GMO products that are organic and are products that you can be certain are wearing the organic label properly, because unfortunately too many things are now slipping through.
Well, yeah, there's candy bars that say health's choice or things like that. I mean, come on, man.
But even organic produce is sitting sometimes next to non-organic or GMO crops. And those have been sprayed heavily with glyphosate. And I got to say, by the way, for the longest time I believed that it was the glyphosate that was the main culprit. It turns out that it's all of the ingredients in Roundup that are toxic. And when things are in combination, they are more toxic because the
chemical reaction.
The reactions,
yes.
and they actually help each other to become worse. That's the technical way I'm going to say it.
All right, so once we go through the detox program, what should we see?
So our detox program, which, by the way, was a 4-week, 4 hours a day, we've now managed to get this down to 2 weeks at 2 hours a day, and I'm really proud of that because it's a time commitment for people. But detoxination with the sauna, niacin, and exercise will reduce the body burden of toxins. We can empirically show by 30% on average. The thing about that is your symptoms, if you come presenting to us with symptoms that are known to be able to be handled with our detox, which pretty much every inflammatory and neurological condition pretty much can be, we can actually show before and after results, even with only a 30% reduction, of 78 to 100% improvement in symptoms. So it's incredible.
Really incredible.
Yeah, but detoxination is much more than just the sauna, niacin, and exercise. We are giving guidance on what kinds of foods you want to eat, what kind of supplements you want to take, and we're also guiding you on non-toxic products that you can use for your hairspray, your hair shampoo and conditioner, body wash, all types of things like that. We have recommendations for. And so detoxination is a full-rounded, holistic approach to wellness.
If you'd like to learn more, visit getdetoxinated.com. Getdetoxinated.com. 916-366-0999. 916-366-0999. We're going to go to a break. We're going to come back and learn more. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to Get Detoxinated with Dan Root. My name is Jon Robert Quinn. I'm the guy who builds talk shows coast to coast. Of course, we're hanging out with Mr. Dan Root, episode 7, part 3. And we are talking about getting healthy through detoxination. Now, for the people who are just coming on board, talk to me real quick. What is detoxination?
Detoxination is our protocol for reducing your body burden of the fat stored toxins that cause inflammation and the diseases that are known for inflammatory disease or neurological disease. And we use sauna, niacin, and exercise to accomplish our goal.
Okay, so my understanding is that you give them niacin, you have them get onto a treadmill, the niacin creates lipolysis rebound.
Which we should probably explain now that you brought that up.
Okay, so what is, explain that?
All right, so when your body is between meals or fasting, or even when you're working hard and you need more energy, the body is kind of melting or burning the fat, which is storing energy. So in the process of burning fat and releasing energy that's called lipolysis, you're also releasing some toxins, because the fat stored toxins, as we've discussed, are going to be there. But it's not sufficient enough to accomplish our goals. So we use niacin, vitamin B3, to induce a state of hyper lipolysis, if you will, where the body rebounds, because niacin literally turns off the very function that we need, the lipolysis. It turns it off. But I use a dangled rubber band as an example. So if you're holding a rubber band between your two fingers and you take niacin and you stretch that rubber band down with your other hand, well, that's what niacin does to lipolysis. It basically turns it off to a very large degree. And then after the niacin wears off, if you shoot that rubber band up in the air, you get an effect that we call rebound lipolysis. Okay. And that lasts for approximately 4 hours, and we only need 2 of those to accomplish our mission.
Okay. And from there, then they go into a sauna.
It's a full spectrum infrared sauna.
Okay, so triple layers.
Triple layers, yes.
And
I like
essentially you're cooking you from the inside rather than from the outside in.
Correct, with light waves, not radio waves like a microwave.
Okay. Yes, that would not be good.
No, that would not. Yes, the full spectrum. The full spectrum infrared we like because it actually has the 3 different wavelengths of infrared, which the near infrared is going to do good for your cells on the skin and do wound healing and things like that. The mid level infrared is going to get down a little deeper, and it's going to promote oxygenation, blood flow, and a little detox. And then the long wave or far infrared is going to get down to almost 2 inches. And it's going to really promote what we call sebaceous sweat. Well, it's what called sebaceous sweat, where your sebaceous glands are helping to release the toxins through that oily, viscous type of sweat known as sebaceous sweat.
Very interesting, and that nastiness is the toxin.
It's actually a lot of lipids, triglycerides, the technical stuff, but toxins are being released. And by the way, so are fat-stored or fat-soluble vitamins and minerals. So as part of our protocol, we are replenishing, people will say supplementing, but no, we're replenishing what you're sweating out. So
very interesting. Okay. Now, all of this is going to be available in a new book, and you're pushing for November.
I am pushing for November. I'm so close to being done. It really just needs to be edited. We've got a wonderful book cover that I think we're going to display.
Don't have me edit it.
I don't plan to, believe me.
If anybody knows, I love writing my books, and I love my books being raw. So if you find misspellings and things like that,
you're getting the real you.
It's the real me, and that's how I like it, personally. That's how I roll, right? Yeah. It's the same thing with my talk shows.
Great books, just nobody's edited them. just know that going in.
Hey, a long story short, we're not having any trouble selling books.
No,
we're selling a lot of them.
Oh, by the way, seems like you've mentioned something in the Cold Call King that I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, I think you're in it,
I'm in there. Yeah, I happened to catch that towards the end. Which, by the way, I also noticed you don't number your pages.
No, I didn't number my pages either.
Yeah,
did it on purpose. Exactly.
I have to because, see, I have a lot of references in my book because there's a ton of information that I go into. In fact, we should probably talk about some of these other things that I go into because there's really literally so much that people don't understand about how the medical industry is designed to profit. And it's really never going to be about cures. And one of the things that has just recently even come out that is huge is when you do an MRI scan, if you do multiple MRI scans, and they use the gadolinium, which is a contrasting agent, so it's a gadolinium-based contrasting agent, or GBCA. If they use that in multiple MRIs in a very short period of time, you can be sure of having all kinds of symptoms from that, and some of them can be extremely devastating to the point of not being able to even walk. The gadolinium is a man-made heavy metal. and it is not processed by the liver, the kidneys, not the way they describe it. It's actually being stored in your fat cells and your bones. And in fact, I've seen very few things that cause bone pain, but there are people in this listening audience that are suffering from gadolinium toxicity, don't even realize it because they've had multiple MRIs.
Very interesting. So with the detoxination, what results should people expect when they work with you?
Well, as we mentioned in the earlier segment, our protocol is shown to reduce, on average, 30% of the toxins from your body. By the way, after you've done our protocol, your body is conditioned to work better. It's also more able to process things than it was before it got blocked up by all these toxins. So you're going to see a continued reduction in body burden if you try and reduce your exposures, continued exposures, but that 30% that we talk about translates to about a 78 to 100% improvement in symptoms for most inflammatory conditions. So that's one of the main things. The other thing too is that because the fat is storing toxins, it won't burn or melt easily. It has to be forced to burn or melt. That's why a lot of people are having issues losing weight when they've done everything that they were told to do. They've done all these fad diets or whatever, and they've taken whatever pills and things like that. You're not going to burn fat that's toxic. So one of the side benefits is the fact that people have an obvious reduction in fat after they've done our protocol. It's not one of the main, motives to do the protocol, but it is a wonderful side benefit.
All right, learn more. GetDetoxinated.com. GetDetoxinated.com. 916-366-0999. 916-366-0999.